Welcome everyone to the recap of round 6 of the Sinquefield Cup 2022. This was a very interesting round with 3 decisive games. Levon Aronian won a very nice game against MVL. Hans Niemann won against Wesley So, which I'm going to show you. And Nepomniachtchi drew against Fabiano Corona. And Firuza won back and forth game against Mamediaro, which at some point it looked like he was losing. But he managed to trick Mamediaro to win a game. Basically, within 5 moves from almost winning advantage, Mamediaro lost the game. It was a very interesting, complex game, so I definitely recommend you guys look at that game. But the game I prepared to show you for round 6 is the game Niemann with the white pieces against Wesley So. So far, Niemann is undefeated in the tournament. He has basically 2 wins and then few draws. And this is round number 6. He's playing Wesley So. So Wesley plays a very solid Petrov defense, again, with the objective is just to try to equalize the game. So take. He's very well prepared in the opening. And this bishop f5 is an interesting move. It's not the most common move. Normally you see bishop d6 played here. Bishop f5 is played by many strong Chinese grandmasters. So this is sort of their line. The point is oftentimes you play knight d6 and try to liquidate the light square bishops. Castles, knight b2, and that's the idea. We see knight b2 played, and if you take, actually there's a queen d2 here and take, and these positions you have a little bit of a pool here. There's some queen b5 ideas, and if you play here just bishop f4 and quickly double up the rooks, you know, black is a little bit passive here, like here, bishop here even. Things can get very interesting here. Okay, so that's why after knight d6, after knight b2, black plays the move knight d6. So if capture occurs on f5, you can just simply take back with the knight on f5. Knight f1, c6, bishop f4. This is all played before. Knight a6, knight e2, knight 7. Here we see the first novelty here, which was played by Hans. He played the move b3 with the idea to play c4. Okay. Again, he's showing that, you know, he doesn't want to just trade pieces and try to make a draw. He's trying to play for a win. Wesley goes 96. And here, interesting moment here. Bishop e5 played. It was possible to play like this. Bishop takes d6. Bishop takes d6. A knight wants to go to an f4, and that's something we're not going to allow. Then you play the move g3, covering this, and now you got the c4 coming up. And your knights are very well placed. In particular, I really like this knight on e3 because it's putting pressure on d5, can go to f5. And I think I would have really liked this plan, you know, of c4 and try to put some pressure. Maybe put the rook on d1 as well. That way you have complete development. The position is still probably close to b-quality, but I think it's a little bit easier to play with the white. So he played bishop e5. Knight e4 now comes in. c4, which was expected. Now the threat is just to take on d5 and then play knight takes d5, pick up the knight. So for example, if you play a6, takes, knight d5, you're gonna end up losing a pawn. Okay, so this is how bishop b4 played, attacking the rook. And actually bishop b5 wasn't played. It was one of the computer options to play this move to try to deflect the rook away. But he actually played the move knight f6, which is a slightly dubious move. Rook a d1, g6, g3. And again, in any point here in this game, if Hans wanted to just play for equality, like he could just take. And now you can't even take back this way because after queen b5, you're going to be losing a pawn. Pawn is staying on b7 and d5. So knight takes f4, and you can play queen f5. Knight takes d5, takes. So everything will come off the board, and looks like the game is just gonna head into a draw here. But white is trying to play for a win, and that's why we don't see this happening. Rook a d1, g6. Again, there is an option to take and go for the variation, but he plays g3. And here I think it's pretty much the last moment here. After this move, he plays the move rook e2, which I'm not sure if I like it, but it's probably still okay. But the move I really didn't like was right here, h4. This is the start of the problems, because it looks like white is trying to expand here, but in reality you're really weakening the g3 and it becomes a problem. So instead he could have simply played bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6, cd, ed, and let's say go knight g4, putting pressure on the bishop, bishop g7, and you can go double up the rooks. Knights are quite active, you have some knight e5 ideas. I mean, again, you're playing this position risk-free. You're not going to be in any danger anytime here. That's why I like to play this way, especially considering he had already had a very good result. It wouldn't have been a bad idea to play a little bit safer, just play for 2 results here. But the move h5 immediately allowed black to play the strong move knight h5, and now we're playing for 3 results because the bishop is stuck on e5. It's not so clear how we're going to get this bishop back home. f6 is a problem. So c takes d5, and here is actually a very important moment. There is only one move here for white that really fully equalizes the game here, but it's not easy to find here. Okay, it's not easy to find. I'm going to pause the video for a few seconds, and I want you to pause it, guys. Give yourself like 5-10 minutes to see if you can spot this idea. Okay, let's see. So okay, the idea here is you need to create a counterplay and find a way to pressure d5. Right now, with this pawn being on a6, it's stopping the queen b5 option. So we need to figure out a way to put pressure. And the way to do that is just incredible move, b4. The point is, if you take simply queen b3, and now attacking the bishop and taking, it's a double attack, and you're losing the central pawn. Okay, that's a problem. If you think, okay, I can just play this and take care of the bishop, it's a problem. Queen b3, putting pressure on d5, takes, knight takes d5 now, taking the pawn, and now look at this pressure. There is a very strong pressure along this diagonal now. And despite being upper pawn, I think there are a lot of dangers in this position. Knight hg7 is the top move, d takes c4, now it's already 2 pawns. And we got lots of discovery checks now coming this way too. So let's say you try to put a queen on b8. Look at that, knight f4, putting pressure. Queen c8, try to defend, and after this move, queen can no longer defend, has to step away, and after knight takes c6, we're gonna simply pick up the knight on e6. So again, this would have been a critical moment here. Hans took a lot of time here, but b4 was a very difficult move to find. So he went here, f6. Bishop b8, a clever move, because now if you take on b8, simply rook takes c6, and white will be better here. But Wesley played a very strong move, king f7, defending the knight. g4, trying to rescue the bishop, and now attacking the knight. But now white's position is going to be slightly worse. Knight f4, takes. We get into this position where, in particular, the big problem we have is the h4 pawn. If this pawn was on h3, position is absolutely fine. But the pawn on h4 is just overextended. Rook d1, and now simply bishop d6, activating, take. And you can take immediately. If you take immediately, you're going to lose a pawn. It's a big problem. But of course, Wesley is going to insert a check, which is going to allow the protection here. And this endgame, guys, is quite a difficult endgame. Bishop is first of all stronger than the knight, because knight doesn't have any good squares to go to, and we're playing on both sides of the board. So, and again, the knight is tied up to the defense of the h4 pawn, which is really, really weak. If this pawn was on h2, h3, white would be able to hold this position without much problems. But this is very uncomfortable endgame. a4, king f7, queen e3. And this is a critical moment here. Here, Wesley had a very strong move, and essentially, white is in sort of a suksavang after this. Because you can't really move the queen anywhere actively because your knight is hanging. You can't move the knight anywhere, you're dropping the h-pawn. And computer just wants to give up the pawn, play like knight g1 and just lose the pawn, but that's not the perfect solution. Most likely if you play king e2, and the problem here is actually just queen f5. And now threatening queen c2 check. Now king e6, getting the king active. Check, queen e4. Just bring the king a little bit closer and then trade queens. And after that, the endgame is just going to be extremely difficult for white. That's how the game went. But instead of playing bishop f4, bishop f4 was played, and that's not the best. Queen d3, queen c3 was another option. Check. Trying to trade. Now queen c3. Now it's already equal here, and here very important moment. King g2. That's a tough move. That's a tough move. Getting into the pin, you know. Here there was an opportunity to actually move the knight. So you know what? You're gonna take my pawn. Go ahead, take it, and get in there. Give up that pawn. That pawn is just making the position too passive, and get the queen in. For example, take. Queen takes b7. Check. Goes here. We take back. Yeah, you lose pawn. You lose 2 pawns initially, but then you get it back. Okay. You lose 2 pawns, but then you get it back, and now it's just equal position here. Yeah, king g2 was certainly an error here, because you put yourself in a bad position here. The king, check, and now king is gonna try to come, and Wesley realized that all he needs to do is force the exchange, and now he attacked the knight first, force him to a bad position, and then simply play bishop f4. And now this endgame is completely hopeless, because black actually strengthens his pawn structure, and now simply king is gonna go king here and just pick up the d4 pawn. King e6. And now many different ways to play. I would have played bishop h6, because I like to have this cut off like this. So, and then knight e3, for example, I could just play f5. This would have been my way of playing. Okay. But he decided to go bishop b8, which is good too. The point is to go bishop a7, which is very good. I mean, visualizing that, you still can use the b8 square. Now d4 pawn is under attack. d5. I mean, if you play this move, this is not a way you can hold this position. You can never really hold the position like this. King comes in here, and after this, there's just no moves you have. If you move the knight, you can lose b4. If you go here, just takes. And simply here. Bishop d4 check, and simply pick up on f2 and pick up on d4. So that's why he decided, okay, I should just try to push. But again, this pawn doesn't have a very long life here. Now threatening just bishop e3. Knight goes here. King e5. Controlling the f4 square. Push. Again, now ready to come back. And now we have... Now we have g5 attacking that. Again, this is actually this doesn't work, which is very important, because bishop d4 and then f5, and right on time to capture this. So this is very important to note. Now take, and the problem is you're just down a pawn here. The bishop is still very strong. King e5, king f4. Now basically the idea here is to play g3. If let's say you play b4, just e3. Takes, bishop e3, and then go g3, g2. And if you play king f1, king will come here and just prepare the g2 break eventually. So that's why he played the king f1. So if you play e3, just take and put the king on g2. But now the problem is bishop b6, just waiting for the knight to move from there. And now the idea is to play bishop c7 to cut off the squares. So knight has to go here. But now that allows the king to come into f3. Knight c4. Bishop takes f2. Knight f2, knight d2 check. And now a very nice move. If actually knight e5 check is played, then simply king goes on f4. If you go to g6, king goes to g5 and picking up the knight. Take the bishop, but take the knight. If knight moves, just bishop moves. It's just 2 pawn advantage. So he goes here. King f4, and Hans resigned, because if he takes e3, winning the knight back, and the g pawn is going to decide the outcome. So yeah, this was a tough loss for Hans, his first loss in a tournament, and gave Wesley a very nice lead, because he already was sitting on a +1, and by winning this game he became, got a clear leader of the tournament with +2, with only 3 rounds remaining. Okay. This was a very exciting round. As I mentioned, 3 decisive games. Make sure you guys check out also the game of Firuza Mamedyanov and Aronian MVL. Those are very exciting games to see as well, some really nice opening ideas. But at the moment, Wesley So is the clear leader, and let's see if he can try to keep his lead and to win the Sinquefield Cup for the second time. Very exciting games coming up, guys, because this is the last tournament of the Grand Chess Tour, so there are additional prizes, so everybody trying to finish at the very top. Thank you guys for joining me and watching this video. Hope you like it. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and put your notifications so you can see all my new videos. Again, I'm going to be very active on YouTube, uploading a lot of new materials, opening content, and a lot of my practice games against other grandmasters with commentary as well. Hope you guys enjoy it, and we'll see you soon again for the round 7 recap of the Sinquefield Cup. Thank you and have a good one. Bye bye.